What's up, everyone? So, we are here today to talk about the battle in your head that goes on between hunger and cravings. We all have those cravings, those cravings right now. The sun is out. I'm a Brit. I should be in a beer garden, drowning in lager, and maybe half naked because it's so damn hot, and probably get arrested. Who knows? But what I'm saying is that is a craving. That's not something that I instinctively want to do, although many of us Brits might believe that. And obviously, hunger is more of an instinct, something that is automatic, something that is ingrained in us to basically help us survive. So, I'm here today to help you identify the differences in your own body between hunger and cravings so that you stop waking up the next day after a big, heavy session with kebab meat all over your face and some down in your crotch because you've been doing God knows what. Is that mayo or is it something else? Anyway, I digress. Let's get to it. So we're just going to run through the definitions, and these aren't the official definitions. These are just kind of what I see as hunger and see as cravings, and to help you understand them a little bit better. Identify. So basically, how to identify what is going on in your mind, in your body, when these two emotions come on, because they are very different. They are very different, and it's important if you want to conquer your health and fitness journey. If you want to be shredded and have girls all around you whilst you're at the pub drinking that beer and maybe organizing wet t-shirt contests, who knows, you got to keep control of both of these feelings. You got to understand when one is a craving and one is hunger, how to take control, so how to literally control those feelings. You've got a little bit of homework to go away. Don't worry, this week I'm not going to ask for any dick pics, maybe next week. And then we've got a free giveaway. Let's see. Right, let's go. Definitions. So, just to kind of really simply put it, hunger is a physical need for food. There's no preference of what that food is. The only consideration is that that thing provides the body with energy. So, if you were generally hungry, you would eat whatever would be in front of you in terms of food, whether it be plain rice, whether it be a piece of charcoal broccoli, whether it be a big slab of steak. You may be able to be avoiding things like dog food and, dirt in the modern era. But if you were to put yourself in your ancestors' shoes where food was scarce, there was nothing around, that dung beetle might look a little appetizing after a few days of not eating. So what I'm saying is hunger is it's an instinct to survive, and your body will go to extreme lengths to do that. I know I certainly have, and I'm not proud of it. We'll get to that. Cravings, though, are a psychological desire for something, and specific. Usually, this is something we enjoy. Sweet, salty, indulgent foods, ice cream, popcorn, chocolate. You gotta ask yourself, though, have you ever craved broccoli? Like, have you ever sat there and thought, start salivating at the mouth, start really maybe even getting a little aroused by the thought of broccoli, a plain bland chicken breast, or even a boiled potato? The likelihood is you've probably not, and that therefore is why cravings are different to hunger. Cravings are, as I say, something that you generally enjoy and desire. On to the next one. So how do you identify the difference between cravings and hunger? So hunger, when your stomach's kind of, talking to you, you're trying to chat up a beautiful girl at a bar, and your stomach's hey, what are you doing here? Where's the food? Where's the food? And before you know it, she thinks you've eaten someone, and someone's talking to her inside you, and she screams, and before you know it, you're in the back of a police van, and all sorts of accusations are thrown around. But what I'm trying to say is your stomach generally will signal to you it needs to eat. It needs to eat. It starts to hurt a little bit. It starts to make some weird growly noises. They are genuine hunger signs. Low energy. So let's say you've nailed it. You've chatted up this girl. Somehow she is aroused by the stomach noises that you're creating, and you get her back to the hotel room only for you to really failed to even lift her up and put her on the bed because you've just got fuck all energy. You know, there's just nothing going through there, and God helps you if you even get to the point of actual, shall we say, sex, because that thing ain't gonna work on low energy. So yeah, if you're super low in energy and it's hard to even do the things that you enjoy, then you know you've got to consider you might be hungry as well. Oh, the hungry feeling. This is one that takes over me much like the Hulk. You know, I'm super, super hungry when I've not eaten for a while. I can be the biggest, dickiest, bellendest person in the world when I've not had enough food. I can tell straight away if my temper is short, sharp, sweet. Motherfucker, I will hunt you down and rip you from limb to limb if that's what it takes. I think I'm getting a little bit hot and bothered. Basically, you become really, really irritable and you act out a little bit, let's just say. Maybe that's just me. I supplement with caffeine. This is very gradual. You don't just all of a sudden think, oh, I'm super fucking hungry, unless you've been doing something that completely distracts the mind away from your natural instincts. It's a gradual feeling. 10 minutes ago you were a little bit hungry. Now you're getting a bit Hank Marvin, as we say in Britain, starving. And half an hour later you are gonna be chewing on your t-shirt or whatever is in your hands, even your fingernails, whatever you can get your kind of mouth around. We'll keep it clean. But essentially that is the trick. It's gradual. You will notice it, and you've got to recognize that as it grows. Okay, and this kind of links into a technique I will use for cravings to identify those as well. And like I say, you'd eat pretty much anything. Even the food that you packaged away and put in your fridge 5 days ago after making it. That's appetizing. Oh, you threw half a banana in the bin, a little bit ago. Think about that. You're gonna get it out because you are in survival mode. If you are genuinely hungry, you will go for anything. And studies have shown if you were to be basically locked away with anything but not even what we would class as edible things. I'm not going to go into the details. This is only anecdotally heard through several podcasts that I listen to, and it doesn't sound great. It doesn't sound great. It's not a good place to be in. And yeah, you would eat anything, even weird shit, if you are genuinely hungry. So we need to recognize what the fuck is the difference. Cravings are sudden. They suddenly come on. All of a sudden, you may see, these days scrolling through TikTok, someone puts, one of those mukbang videos on. They're demolishing McDonald's like it's the end of the world. They've got it all around the face, and you're like, bam! I could nail a Big Mac cheeseburger. I could nail a milkshake right now. Forgetting that you've just eaten 30 minutes ago. That's a craving, my friend. That's not hunger. It's really specific as well. So I would always say if you're craving, if you think your hunger is a craving, but the thing that you are craving isn't there, and you're not willing to eat, maybe like I say, a piece of fruit or a piece of broccoli, some spinach, a chicken breast, you ain't hungry. You need to ignore that shit. It's usually triggered by something. Like I say, you might have seen something on TikTok or YouTube. That's usually my go-to. I torture myself when I'm dieting. I watch these food videos, and before I know it, I'm literally head deep in the box of cereal, and I've got peanut butter all over my eyes because it's a mess. It's a mess. But emotional, we've all been through it. The boyfriend, the girlfriend, they split up with us, they cheat on us, and where do we go to? I know where I go to. My bowl of porridge is calling me, and that bowl of porridge becomes this big, and I turn into the Quaker Oats man. That pretty much. But normal people would go to things like ice cream and chocolate in that emotional setting. Boredom, yeah. What's better to do than eat? Eating is something to pass the time. It's pleasurable. Generally just general boredom can lead to eating. And I'd say relational, in the sense where you kind of couple eating with something. Modern day era, it's sitting down watching Netflix. But what if I'm gonna relate it to something? It is generally when I am, you're kind of sitting down watching something, and usually that would be something really gory, lots of blood, lots of nakedness. That seems to get my appetite going. But you know, but yeah, you ate recently as well. Is the other thing. If you've eaten within, even just a few hours, and you're saying you're hungry, but we all say we've got another stomach full of sweet stuff. We always want a dessert. That's not hunger. That's gluttony. That's gluttony. Gluttony? Why am I sounding American? That is gluttony. That is craving. That is being weak-minded and giving in. Anyway, moving on. Why it matters for your fitness. I think it's pretty obvious, all right? So, as I mentioned before, hunger is an instinct. Without that instinct, we generally die because we wouldn't have those signals, those signs to tell us to eat. So why would we eat? It is literally your body telling you to refuel. When you're driving your car, and for me, I'm driving my Reliant Robin down the M6. It's on next to no fuel. The fuel light comes on, ding ding ding, refuel. That's the body telling you to get some fucking food in me, because I'm gonna shut down if not. And you can start to see the gradual signs, as I mentioned before, and sometimes it can be really really distressing if you don't have enough food yet. You're nowhere to be surrounded, or no, there's no surroundings around you that has any kind of decent food around. That's what really pisses me off. But cravings are different. Cravings are hormonal. They are there for your pleasure senses. Basically, they're there to make you feel good, and to kind of promote you, or convince you to do things that make you feel good. So think of your pet dog or pet cat, if you've ever had one, or your friend's pet dog. My friend's pet cat is in my garden quite a lot of the time, actually. We only dig him up every summer, but hey ho. Anyway, we are like animals. We are animals. We're fucking animals at the end of the day. We have those instincts, those primate instincts to basically go with the flow, as they say, go with our instincts, go with our hormones. But the difference between us and animals is that we actually have, a certain intelligence that allows us to, understand or change the way we think about things, the way we actually take action to actually, take us towards a different path, a different goal. And if your goal is, relates to being fit, losing fat, losing weight, you don't want to give in to these instincts too much, because if you just kind of use the excuse, well, I'm an animal, I'm following my instincts, before you know it, the only animal you'll be resembling is a hippopotamus that's not moved for several years and weighs a couple of ton, and you don't want that. You literally have the power and control, and the more you practice it, the more you understand that it's a craving, that you can change the way you're feeling, you can change the way you deal with these things, the easier it becomes, because you're building those habits, you're building those routines, you're building a sort of motor pathway, and a method that helps you ignore these instincts, these cravings, not the instincts. Anyway, how to take control. These are 6 simple steps. So whenever you eat, whenever you have your meals, prioritize protein and fiber. Purely because protein is the most important of the 3 macronutrients. It's going to help you recover and adapt in terms of your muscle hypertrophy if you are someone who trains and typically trains resistance training. But it's very satiating as well. And that's the same with fiber. It takes a long time to digest and keeps you full for much longer. Staying hydrated, again, it's a simple one, but this allows your body to regulate at a normal, homeostasis. Basically, hormones are released as and when they should be. But at the same time, keeping your stomach full with fluid also helps your hunger or cravings. I'm getting confused now, but your cravings to be reduced as well. Don't neglect sleep. Now, why I say this, you may have seen a previous video on sleep and fitness, and how a disruption in your sleep cycle can massively alter the hormone release within the body. It can make you or kind of increase cravings literally the following day, and it can make your kind of battle 10 times harder if we're not maximizing our sleep and we're just kind of neglecting it. So yeah, definitely don't sleep on sleep. Mealtime instruction routine, this just helps with the whole circadian rhythm, again just relating to that hormone release. So as you eat more consistently and in routine, your body will start to only produce the hunger hormones leptin and ghrelin. So basically to help you be hungry and stop being hungry at the right times in the day. You know, rather than it being completely random and you always eating at random times, snacking all the time, your body doesn't know what to do. Giving it more routine and structure just helps you a bunch again. Identify emotional triggers. So again, it's good to kind of understand why you give into cravings when they typically come on board. You know, did you have a shit day where your boss maybe shouted at you and might have flashed you a couple of times as you tried to ignore him? Identify those emotional triggers, because if you can, and if you can understand them a little bit better, then you can maybe think of another tactic, another way to actually react to those. Instead of blocking out a habit, replace it. Much easier, much more effective. And of course, balance. What I mean by that is don't restrict yourself. Don't think that you are, in super control, that you can just cut out all the things that we maybe label as not good for us, because it's only going to lead to a huge craving crash down where you just inhale the whole aisle of biscuits and crisps and chocolate, and you go into Asda, and before you know it, you are looking like Augustus Gloop as he kind of travels through the chocolate chute, and that's something we want to avoid, basically. So what I'd like you to do to kind of help with this and to really stick this in the mind of what we've talked about today, and get to understand you and your hunger levels and craving levels a little bit better, is keep a hunger and craving log for 3 days. Every time those feelings come on board, note down basically what may have triggered them. What are the feelings? Is it, I could eat anything, stomach growling, feeling fatigued, or is it I'm craving a McFlurry right now and I just want to dip my left bollock in there because it's so damn fucking hot at the moment and I can't breathe. But I gave that McFlurry to my little brother, so hopefully he's not listening. Anyway, apply the 20-minute rule. What I mean by that is simply wait 20 minutes when you get these feelings of hunger or cravings, because you haven't distinguished yet. And obviously, if you are still getting those feelings of wanting something to eat 20 minutes after, you're probably hungry. And that's where I'd say, give yourself something that is nutritious, valuable, something high in protein, high in fiber. And hopefully that will then take away the feeling. If you give yourself something that's typically what we crave, such as something sugary, sweet, salty, you're probably going to be hungry again in just a matter of minutes. And one day at a time, don't try and overwhelm yourself. This is a slow process, but I promise it's one of those where you stack up those wins each and every day. You learn how you basically deal with these things, and you learn to really listen to your body and what it's trying to tell you. You accumulate those wins over time, and before you know it, you'll become an absolute wizard at your own hormone, your own body, your own physiology, and your own psychology as well. So that's the real, what was I calling it yesterday? Break the code. I don't think that relates, but you know what I'm trying to say. Accumulate those wins. And then finally, I did promise a free giveaway. It is something that will help you, and it does relate to your homework. It is the basically free craving and hunger tracker that I actually use with my clients whenever they go through these periods of hunger and tracker. And the comment I'd love you to leave below is titties. If you know what titties are, then the hunger and craving tracker is going to help you get those titties, and I'll send it your way. Just leave your comment below. I'll give you a message on Instagram or YouTube, whichever you do comment on, because I will be creating a post for this video on Instagram. And then you can manage your hunger and cravings. Like I say, be the wizard of the hunger and craving world, and you're gonna get shredded in no time. So this is my talk on basically hunger, cravings, and a little bit of shit talking. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I'm trying to add a little bit more, not only information, but trying to entertain you guys a little bit more as well. So take everything I say with a pinch of salt. I didn't really give my brother a McFlurry that I dipped my left ball in. That would be super harsh, but it's given me an idea for his 19th birthday in a couple of weeks. Peace out.